Ziggity Zig back with a Friday Faff, and this is a game with that guy Griff, as well as there's the AI player and Grant Incompetence up here in the top left of Entombed Valley, and this is a game that they just decided to call Everybody Hates Griff, because this is allied chat on So it's Incompetence and the AI, the Protoss player down here, versus Griff. So Griff just needs to try to essentially survive. Now the thing is, it's also a pretty long game, so I'm going to try to charge through as best I can. So here comes Grant down to do a quick scout, which is a good idea. Now, I never do things like that. He's actually doing a cross scout first, which, yeah, that'll work. I don't think there's going to be any shenanigans on their way, because actually Grant's already got the supply depot on the way. Just to start off, there's no further building here. However, there is the AI had that down very, very fast. There's a gateway down for Griff. Trying to chase Incompetence out of there, and well, that's kind of a good thing, except there's not really too many shenanigans that a Terran player can get up to in your base, aside from possibly a bunker rush, proxy barracks, things like that. But since Griff's pretty good at keeping an eye on his why is Grant pink? I just noticed that. Griffin having a look over here, and is going to come up with no dice grandma. There is no AI player over there in the top left, but right here at the bottom left is where the AI player is actually pumping out the zealots, because I think they set it on either hard or very hard. Probably hard, because at that point, there's still quite a bit of a gap just there, because at that point they were trying to decide what it would take for Grant to be able to beat Griff, so they decided Griff is pretty much able to take on a very hard opponent, but I'm not sure if you could take on a very hard opponent and something else. There's a pretty decent wall up right there by Griff, and I think Grant's... no, the little SCV that made it into Griff's base did not last for all that long. There is the Cyber Core, but it is not researching a gate at the moment. There is plenty of gas right now, but it just does not appear to be happening. Deciding to go predominantly into... okay, it's also the one gateway forge expand, or just sort of build. Yes, there we go. So, could probably use, yes, just a couple of add-ons onto the barracks right there, and possibly even move them up now that they have started producing units. Because the difficulty here is that, and how do I find that? Is that army value? There we go. I have to remember how to do this properly with a 3-player map, because normally I rely on the control keys. I do love the fact that Grant will always make a little secretive supply depot down there, just kind of hiding down in the corner or something like that. Speaking of secretive and hiding, there is the proxy pylon by that guy Griff, and there he is. So Griff actually at the moment has a fairly decent... oh wow, I can see the view of... oh, that's because it's the exact same. So Griff's view is not too bad right now, but here comes the first small, meager push by the ridiculously underpowered computer Protoss, which is still making a couple of units right now. Still, and I like to emphasize on this, no orb gauge being made. But besides that, with that number of sentries, oh yeah, this is definitely not a very hard opponent. This is definitely just hard. So this is hard, and Grant. Grant getting mad at his teammate just there. So this is when the melee units just are not making it all the way up the hill. So they decide to head back home. Army values looking pretty good in Griff's case, but still not quite twice the value. Grant managed to do things about that. And here comes some... there we go. So that's going to be a tech lab, I believe. Yep, tech lab on there, so possibly some marauders. Grant doing full-on turtling Terran mode, but at the same time, Grant getting expansion down here way before any of the looks of an expansion down here by Griff. Pretty much heading out for a 3-gate robo with a +1 upgrade just there. No further units going on at the moment, even though the income levels are probably pretty spiffy if you look at each and every one of them. Griff definitely a little bit out in front for the number of workers happening. I'm gonna have a quick peek and see what's going on over here at the AI base, and still no warp gate whatsoever. Still just sort of rolling out on one gate. This is not even hard. This must be medium, because this is just absolutely atrocious. This is terrible. Engineering bay coming down for Grant. He's going to start working on hopefully a few upgrades. There comes the factory. Possibly might see a little bit of... oh, there we go. So weapons 1 for Grant. There is quite a lot of sight happening right here. That pylon is not quite close enough to do any serious damage, I don't think. Unless you put one right there, you might be able to sneak in a couple of zealots up top with an observer. That is usually Griff's particular plan. Does look like a bit of an idle worker happening right there for Incompetence, but only the one. And there we go, a missile turret over there to the side. This is what I like to call a stuck SCV. And so, if only you had 4 friends sitting in a building designed specifically to shoot outward that could help free you from those rocks. If only. That would be kind of nice. So Griff finally is also getting, I'm going to stop saying finally. Griff is deciding to get a expansion of his own. He looks back at the army size, and now we're approximately doubling it, just based on the fact that Grant seems to be just slightly behind still. Nothing happening here. Not sure what's going on there. Are we getting a +1? Yeah. Okay, +1. Ooh. Oh, I see that over there on the mark. Let's see where this is happening. Right next to the Twilight Council. One of Griff's go-tos is the Twilight Council, and then he just sort of decides what he wants to do there, whether either DTs or Archon seems to be the best bet. Extra gas happening. So as far as the income values go, Griff definitely quite a bit ahead right now, but Grant keeping decent pace. We'll have a quick peek at the EPM, and that is 20 EPM, which took me an entire season of bronze and a little bit of silver just to get to. So Grant definitely hitting up with some decent scores just there. Now, the tanks have arrived, and we're looking at, I think, siege tech as well. So once again, the turtling is totally on par with what you'd expect. Not a whole lot happening at the moment, but there's a warp prism up there, which is actually pretty sneaky. We'll see some cool action right there. And finally, this sort of a fast expand wall is on the way now. Oh, there we go, with another small unit. And I do emphasize small unit. And it looks like, this little probe is going to go straight to the middle and possibly die. Nope, just going to wander around there. So here's where action happens, where these 4 AI units are just getting quite screwed. And this little probe up here was very close to discovering that, but I don't think he did. No, there's absolutely nothing happening down there. And yes, poor Grant is now going to find out that his allies are being attacked, and it looks like the army values are woefully underpowered now for the computer player. This probe barely missing the pylon over there, only to possibly run up here to find the strangest place to put a Dark Templar. It does seem like Griff possibly was distracted by throwing down a number of... still nothing. This poor probe is just having the worst luck. This computer probe just does not seem to catch on to anything. Griff finally finishing off the Dark Templar, getting into the warp prism. It probably took about twice as long as it should have. But once more. Do I see it? Definitely don't need to go up there. I'm just gonna wander up here to my friend's base. And hey guys, how's it going?
Complete.
So here comes the warp prism at the slowest pace possible. I don't know if you could warp in up there. I'm not entirely certain. Now here comes and this is when Grant's gonna see. Yes, Grant does finally see this. So Grant's got a drop coming in at the same time, and I think it's possible that Griff did see that. It's not showing anything off at the moment, but I think the real issue here is that actually Grant is keeping up quite well with the army size. Griff's still not really doing much of anything other than just sort of keeping an eye on a few different bits and pieces, where his vision of the game is quite excellent, but I'm not quite certain what's going on there. So we had a few different maneuvers there, but this... Okay, so... Apparently the plan now is to get a dropship and put it slightly nearer to your base. And it looks like... we're on 2 gates now. And a Stargate. Gonna get some warp prism play possible. So here comes a probe for the computer player. I'm not quite certain if he's gonna put down a pylon or anything like that, but there is movement up here at the top, and it looks like the DTs are possibly gonna make their way in. Grant's little dropship is also gonna make its way in as well, and here comes one drop happening at the same time. The only problem is that one drop is seen and the other drop is actually seen as well. So these units down here, and we'll look at the units lost, it does look like there's everything always happens at exactly the same time. So we switch back and forth, and here are some zealots on their way down as well, and none of these can actually attack these banshees right here. These units down here, Griff's army is nowhere to be seen. They finally make their way up, mostly because he's probably concentrating very hard on trying to get the rest of the maneuvers at Grant's base. And here is the remainder of the computer's units are just kind of stuck there at the back. Looks like the invasions are both over, but it has taken a bit of a toll because now both human players are now down at AI levels of harvesters. Grant probably hit maybe slightly harder in there, only in the fact that he was a little bit behind at the same time. But now it does look like Griff is able to continue to hit these units in, because the rest of the army is mostly just trying to get rid of the remainder of these Dark Templars. There's a scan. Grant is quite aware of what is going on up here. These 3 Stalkers not doing much at the moment, but here comes a small army, and I do mean small, of the computer player who are on their way down. Here comes the Vikings. Vikings going to take up the full person, probably without too much of an issue. I don't think there are many more Dark Templar around. There are 2 left. Here comes the Observer. The Observer actually comes in with the AI. That was quite a decent maneuver, but we do look at the Harvesters, and it does seem like Griff is trying to re-engage the Harvesters. This probe is still just wandering around with like a chicken with its head cut off. Does not really see anything worth taking, and Grant is probably ready for probably hit up quite a number of mules right now, but this additional army from the AI helping out in the base is a lot more than I would have expected at this point, because really all we were looking at that point was just kind of amassing up some units down here in the base and never actually researching Warp Gate. I do not understand this, and yet there are still no further units, at least gateway units, and now we've moved into kind of a Phoenix Immortal push play thing, and Grant is now suspiciously working on some Ravens. So here comes another maneuver. I don't know how much these are going to be able to do. This Observer is not going to last very long. Griff's army was right there, just getting a 3rd base at the exact same time. Probably going to be able to clean this up quite handily, even though it is a sizable army to his own, but just being up the hill, that's in a much better position, and this is when this Observer just near the base is going to come in handy. Griff's got quite a lot of vision all over the map, does see where everything's going and what's going on. Still has this pylon up here in the sneaky zone, nothing down there that you can actually get to. Watching this 3rd expansion from Grant, keeping an eye on things, getting another couple of gateways at the same time. So this ridiculous line of production reactors, another command center, lots of things going on here for Grant, with the up to 23 EPM right now, so that's actually quite well, that's not quite impressive, but it's impressive because you have to admit, or you have to realize that Grant has only been playing this game for actually less than, I don't know, you'd probably call it less than a month, I think, if I remember correctly. But now we're into Banshees, we got some Ravens, so just kind of playing with the technology right now, just playing with the tech, playing with the army comp, trying to see if he can come up with anything. Now, what has actually been sort of a hindrance, but at the same time an advantage, has been this constant, I have to say, trickle of units coming in from the AI, and of course at the same time that double detrimental attack on the economy of both players, where it doesn't look like either of them have really been able to expand to anything, but I think Griff has probably expanded to a 3rd by now, and is just sort of protecting assets as we speak. But as far as the army size, then it does look like Griff is sort of staying out in front, but if both armies were to attack at the same time, chances are, with a little bit of decent maneuvering, there goes my throat, these 2 players would probably be able to overtake Griff, possibly finish him off, but we'll see. We definitely want to have these medevacs to go with the army units, and here's a small issue, and the Raven does see the Observer, the Viking hopefully able to take that off. Here comes morphing into a planetary fortress, which is a curious idea, but I suppose if you're reading the what the pros do, then you'd see that that would be what the pros do when they take their 3rd, is you get the planetary fortress, is what you're supposed to do. Maybe that's changed. I think I'm remembering that from like Season 4 or something was the last time I read anything about Terran strategy. Sadly, I don't watch many of the tournaments, which is probably why I'm such a bad caster in this case. But livecast is livecast, and coldcast is even colder than livecasting. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Still, with the completely ridiculous non-Warp Gate updated cybernetics core, with player 4 But here comes a probe, and this probe is probably going to... yep, he's going to probably meet his demise at the hands of these 3 Dark Templars on their way here. Possibly these Dark Templar may notice. These 2 units on their way there. No. They might not. Depends on whether they're going to move or not, but I think at this point, the small army... Oh, there we go, with the strange little tiny scouts. And whoa, there was a fast-moving... Holy cow. Look at the EPM going on right there. So here comes another quick unit in, quick little scout, and amazingly actually survives. We'll speed this one up just a tiny bit more, and it looks to be, I don't see this game ending anytime soon, but it seems alright to me, because the next thing we're going to see is a bunch of turrets, a few missile turrets. The Viking is there possibly to protect from air. I'm not entirely sure if that's going to be much used to protect from anything other than air-to-air units, because at this point... Oh, and there we go, both because Griff had a couple of stoppers just down here. Now the army of... Whoa, and the army of the... the army of the computer player, the strange schizophrenic one, which can't decide which direction to move in, has moved in again, and then just too clumsy tried to back. I don't think that's really the case, because, well, he's probably into... he's not into that much money, because honestly, if you look down at Griff, he's probably... No, he's even his funds pretty low. So if you look at the army size once more, Griff has taken a bit more of a lead, and that only comes down to the fact that it's very hard to organize your army and attacks with an AI player, because you can't sort of say, okay, go now, much like how Grant sort of decided on before. But at this point, we have 3 base against 1 player with 2 base and 1 player with 3 base. Griff decided the best course of action probably to take out the AI player, and Grant deciding that maybe he might be able to get him from behind, sort of in a small pincer maneuver, but I fear at this point that the army of the computer AI is pretty much toast done. This amount of medevacs might be able to make a small pull up, but that is a large number of stalkers. I think they are going to pick off the medevacs first, get rid of the remainder of the units, and that's pretty much that. And look at the units lost. It's actually going pretty well. The same for just about everybody there, but what was that? That was an interesting maneuver from the EA. Oh, a giant army there? I think I'll build a house right next to it. That's exactly where I'm going to go. Total overdosage of war prisons just there. Grant trying desperately to rebuild his army somewhat with a small cliffside village of supply depots for whatever reason. Here is the units that remain. The army's strength is just far, far, far too low to do anything about it. Griff managed to take care of the remainder of this base. That should clean it up, and there is effectively nothing else. There's no income right now for this Pro-Dust player. They have 200 minerals to bank, and that's it there. Except I don't think, therefore, has revealed their bases. Well, where is their base? I don't think they have any buildings left. Where do they have a building? Where does Purple have a building? How are they still in this game? It's an observer and another observer. Not entirely sure. But as far as the army size right now, yeah, I don't see any structures. Sorry. Can't see anything on the mini-map, but I don't know. So we have the Cloaked Banshee, which is trying to take down the Dark Shrine, which is a very interesting maneuver. But Griff is right there with the observer and takes that one out, and then the remainder of the army is moving in with quite a high number now at a 200 with a couple of Colossus in there as well. So waited for the full-on death ball, comes in, comes around, takes out the 3rd, probably the best maneuver, and Planetary Fortress stands no chance whatsoever. Now we'll look at the units lost tab, and this is probably when we get out of hand for everybody. A couple of force fields, and then now it's time to move through the choke. The choke point. Archons are Colossus versus Thors. Thors do a pretty decent number on them, but this is when you'll watch the pink number. But way out there in front, and it looks like pretty much the end is near. There is nothing going on in the production tab, but as far as the units go, Grant does not have a lot left at this point. 7,000 strong army. Approximately 200. Here comes that's a lot of Dark Templar, and I don't think there's a few missile turrets, but they're not really going to do all that. So right now it's just sort of adding in some of the injury. You can probably turn them into some Archon turrets to make people a little more damage. Well, no, if you're not really up against any defense whatsoever, which is fine. killing the Dark Templars because I think they do it a bit faster. There's nothing attacking you. They can't all actually actively tuck around that supply depot, so they're trying to do something, and all of these ground troops are now trying to do something about this Raven turret. Throw down some turrets. Just go for it, man. Why not? And these Stalkers see the turret, but they do not see the Raven, and they can't be bothered killing the Raven just for whatever reason. But it does look like Griff is going to take this with the Protoss Death Ball. So what we end up at with the EPM is a 28 EPM out of our newcomer Grant, who's probably destined to get to silver or higher, I would say, after some placement matches, because you saw some pretty decent maneuvers over there, especially at the early engineering bay, which led to some decent macros, some decent base management, lots of other fun things going on there, and it does look like I don't know, is Grant going to try to do anything about this? Oh, wait a minute, I see now. Grant, I believe, left the game, and so at that point, Griff is OP, because now you see that Grant has absolutely no money whatsoever. The AI somehow still had $1,400. So does the AI gain control of that? Let's continue up against this, but the problem now is that there's still a couple buildings. I still don't know what the AI has. I'm not entirely sure, because there's no building, so now it's just sort of Griff wandering around trying to see if... There. Incompetence has been revealed, because they don't have a base. There's nothing purple. How is purple still in this game? All purple has, right now, is one observer. I'm convinced of it. Income, nothing. No. Army, no. Units, one. Nothing. Okay. One observer, right there. But I think these buildings may count for both teams. So there's one not quite... We'll probably see this take shape once both of these... And that's the game. Incompetence is out, and yeah, okay, that was it. And that's game. Ermagerd. I'm happy and impressed to say that that's a pretty decent maneuver, and I think Grant did quite well in that game. You let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below, or send an email to ziggyzig@gmail.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at ZiggyStarcraft. If you have an interesting, fun, hilarious, ridiculous game for the Friday Faff, do please email it to me at that email address that I mentioned before, or, yeah, just tell me about it on YouTube. I respond to messages, comments, and things as much as I can. I don't get many, so, yeah, pretty much have my 100% attention. Stay tuned.